اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حميم والكتاب المبين إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة مباركة إنا كنا منذرين فيها يفرق كل أمر حكيم أمرا من عندنا إنا كنا مرسلين رحمة من ربك إنه هو السميع العليم رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما إن كنتم موقنين لا إله إلا هو يحيي ويميت ربكم ورب آبائكم الأولين بل هم في شك يلعبون فارتقب يوم تأتي السماء بدخان مبين يخشى الناس هذا عذاب أليم ربنا اكشف عنا العذاب إنا مؤمنون أنى لهم الذكرى وقد جاءهم رسول مبين ثم تولوا عنه وقالوا معلم مجنون إنا كاشف العذاب قليلا إنكم عائدون يوم نبطش البطشة الكبرى إنا منتقمون ولقد فتنا قبلهم قوم فرعون وجاءهم رسول كريم أن أدوا إلي عباد الله إني لكم رسول أمين وأن لا تعلوا على الله إني آتيكم بسلطان مبين وإني عذت بربي وربكم أن ترجمون وإن لم تؤمنوا لي فاعتزلون فدعا ربه أن هؤلاء قوم مجرمون فأسر بعبادي ليلا إنكم متبعون واترك البحر رهوا إنهم جند مغرقون كم تركوا من جنات وعيون وزروع ومقام كريم ونعمة كانوا فيها فاكهين كذلك وأورثناها قوما آخرين فما بكت عليهم السماء والأرض وما كانوا منظرين ولقد نجينا بني إسرائيل من العذاب المهين من فرعون إنه كان عاليا من المسرفين ولقد اخترناهم على علم على العالمين وآتيناهم من الآيات ما فيه بلاء مبين إن هؤلاء ليقولون إن هي إلا موتتنا الأولى وما نحن بمنشرين فأتوا بآبائنا إن كنتم صادقين أهم خير أم قوم تبع والذين من قبلهم أهلكناهم إنهم كانوا مجرمين وما خلقنا السماوات والأرض وما بينهما لاعبين ما خلقناهما إلا بالحق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون إن يوم الفصل ميقاتهم أجمعين يوم لا يغني مولا عن مولا شيئا ولا هم ينصرون إلا من رحم الله إنه هو العزيز الرحيم إن شجرة الزقوم طعام الأثيم كالمهل يغلي في البطون كغلي الحميم خذوه فاعتلوه إلى سواء الجحيم ثم صبوا فوق رأسه من عذاب الحميم ذق إنك أنت العزيز الكريم إن هذا ما كنتم به تمترون إن المتقين في مقام أمين في جنات وعيون يلبسون من سندس واستبرق متقابلين كذلك وزوجناهم بحور عين يدعون فيها بكل فاكهة آمنين لا يذوقون فيها الموت إلا الموتة الأولى ووقاهم عذاب الجحيم فضلا من ربك ذلك هو الفوز العظيم فإنما يسرناه بلسانك لعلهم يتذكرون فارتقب إنهم مرتقبون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات اللهم اجعل وليك الفرج والعافية والنصر واجعل من خير أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. Can I ask Sheikh Ladak to come on the stage if he's here and start the proceedings, inshallah, with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلي يا ربي على خيرتك من خلقك محمد وآله الطاهرين. Awaited Savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, my respected teachers, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا أبي عبد الله الحسين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. We are honored this evening for our Dasmo program, where we commemorate 10 days after the event of Ashura, for us to have a special intra-faith program to allow us to be able to reflect on the globalized movement of Imam al-Hussein, Sayyid al-Shuhada, salawatullah wassalamuhu alayh. We have with us a very esteemed guest. I think many of you at least will have seen him before in the community when we have had a program. But if not before, a great opportunity for us to be benefiting from his knowledge and wisdom. And we have with us the Imam of the Lingfield Mosque, Sheikh Imtiaz Ahmed Idris. And this evening we wish to be able to explore how Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam can be a globalized movement, something for the entirety of the Ummah to be using as a means towards justice, as a means towards salvation. And so what our program will be, inshallah, is that Sheikh will come and address us, and then I will also try to be able to reflect on some ideas that I wish to be able to present, especially to my immediate audience and to those online. And then before Salat al-Maghrib, if time permits, we will have a chance for question and answer. If not, then inshallah, if there is interest, we can pray our Salat al-Maghrib and then have our questions and answers afterwards. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome the Sheikh and welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله. الحمد لله نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى أصحابه الكرام البررة الأجمعين. أما بعد، قال سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين. صدق الله مولانا العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين. وبعد, first of all, I will say my special thanks to brother Sheikh Jaffer Ladak for inviting me for this program to share with you my views on this topic about the Sayyiduna wa Sayyidul Ummah wa Sayyidul Jannah, Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So I have shared with you, this is telling us the motto of Sayyidina Hussein, Tilka Darul Akhirah. So our motto is the Akhirah. What we are looking is for the Akhirah. And when Allah is telling us, Tilka Darul Akhirah, Naj'aluha lilladhina la yuriduna 'uluwan fil ardi wala fasada. We have assigned this Akhirah for those people, those who are not seeking any exaltness, any highness in this dunya. Wala fasada, they are not seeking for any corruption in this dunya, not any fasad. And remember, no matter what outcomes is coming in front of us, remember, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, the last and eternal victory is for the muttaqeen. So when we are talking this after 10 days of 10th of Muharram, when Sayyidina Imam Hussein who gave his life 1400 years back, 14 centuries past, we are remembering him and we are remembering his companions, and we are talking about their lives, their sacrifice, what they have done for us, what they have done for the Ummah, what they have done for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to, especially when we are talking this after this 10th of Muharram, after 10 days, you have listened a lot. Every aspect of his life, especially last few days, because in Majalis, I used to listen for a long time. So with great shuyukh in Pakistan as well. So I know that all aspects of his life, and especially his sacrifice, is shared with the audience. So today our topic is his role for us as Allah has given him all eternal title of Imam, like he's given to Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Islam, inni ja'iluka linnasi imama, as is given to Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Islam. So same title Allah has given to this Imam Hussain radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, is telling us that they have done something. That's why the title is given to them, because the title given to Ibrahim was also after the biggest test. Ibrahim There are many tests given to Ibrahim al-Islam. At end he is given the title. And same way, all of the Ahlul Bayt, and especially Imam Hussain has proved through his test that he is not only determined with his mission, but he is actually firmly standing against all the tyrants and against all the cruelty of the king of his time, and he hasn't bowed down in front of him just for the haqq. That's what he has told the people before he came to he traveled to Iraq. So when he wrote a letter to people of Basra, in that letter he said, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is violating. People are neglecting the sunnah, and they are stopping from the khair, and they are not doing amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. The main job given to the sunnah, main job given to the Prophet ﷺ, they're going against it. And now this is the time. If you're not standing for it, so when you will stand for it? So this is the cause he has declared throughout his journey. He explained again and again to the people, the famous poet Frazdak, on his way to the Karbala, when he told him the story, the things are going against you now, you should go back now. It's not good time to go there, you can come after. And because of love of Sayyidina Imam Hussain, Frazdak has told him all the true pictures, but what he said, that we are not here for something for ourselves. We are coming here for the ummah. And if the destiny of Allah is coming with us, so we will thankful to Him, and we will say thank to Him, and we will even thank to Him on giving us this opportunity, giving us this strength to do thank to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if destiny of Allah is going against us, so everybody should know that we were on haqq, and the person who is on the haqq and he is coming for the haqq, he has no fear of anything, no fear of death, no fear of any other thing. So many other things was in his mind, and everything was in his front. But what happened at the end, the people saw. Maybe he lost his life, maybe he lost his beloved one, maybe he lost the 72 of the very beautiful companions, those who are the essence of the ummah of that time. So when they gave their life, so at that time, what the tyrant, what the cruel people, what they think that they have won and the victory is for them. But like you were listening to the recitation of Surah Dukhan, many ayat are actually indicating about this story, because this is the story of conflict of Sayyidina Musa al-Islam as well. It's the same cruelty faced Sayyidina Hussain radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So the storm of oppression, this cruelty, whatever happened there, they think that they have won, they have the power and the authorities in their hand. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, and on the day of Qiyamah, even the Zalimeen, they will think themselves and they will say, وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يُقْسِمُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ مَا لَبِثُوا غَيْرَ سَاعَةٍ. This was just a 1 hour of enjoyment, whole life of us. So this is less than 1 hour. And you say, Imam knows this, so that's why he doesn't care about anything he was facing. So why we're talking this right now? Because the illusion of this life is always making us away from the haqq and giving us different pictures in our life. But if we want to take this illusion from our life, so you have to look for the role models, and you have to look for the ayyamullah. وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ Quran is telling the Prophet ﷺ, told them about the special days of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the history and special days before this ummah's the old prophets ummahs, when Allah is remembering them. So we have a special days of this ummah here as well, like the day of Sayyidina Imam Hussain. And the concrete reality out of this was there that the last victory is now in this dunya, and this even but outcome is now like the zalim, but the did cruelty is actually did with themselves. So nobody is taking their name now. Even their name become a curse till day of Qiyamah. On the other side, you see Sayyidina Hussain and his companion, they are alive till day of Qiyamah. لا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء. You don't even imagine that they have been killed for, but they are alive, and they are given provision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala till day of Qiyamah, because they were haqq, and al-haqqu min rabbik, and haqq is from your Lord. It's nobody can defeat or destroy the haqq. Anybody who try to destroy the haqq, he will become himself perish from the scene. And this happened with the cruel people of that time. And you can see the Sayyidina Hussein's uswa at the last moment when he was sacrificing his beloved one. So the words, the fustu bi Rabbil Kaaba, is the same words which are used the companions in the time of their Ma'una. The 70 people, 72 or 70 of companions of prophets have given their life in the same. You can say that compare these two events. All are killed with very cruel ways in the time of Prophet ﷺ, the people of the Ma'una, and then the companions of Sayyidina Hussain. So what we can learn in this time when we are reflecting on this one, that the Uswa Hussain, the role model for us, is that look in his teaching, and especially in his preaching in the last moment, what he did. I'm just sharing with you few words from his one of his sermon last time, that he said, "Inni ma kharajtu shara wala batra wala zalima wala mufsida. Inni kharajtu bi talab al-islah fi ummati jaddi." This is I haven't came for any fasad or any zulm or anything. I came is just for the revival of this ummah, revival of the this ummah of my grandfather Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I want to do uridu amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar wa asiru fi ummati jaddi bi sirati jaddi wa sirati Ali ibn Abi Talib. So this was his motto. We need to keep him in our mind when we are remembering him right now, when we are doing this the time of sadness or the grief. We are saying that because of his this incident of Karbala, but actually this is going further. This the blood, the sacred blood of Sayyidina Hussain, which even a common believers, a common Muslim's blood is even sacred than the Holy Kaaba, like the mention in the Khaqe Shifa. Where goes the blood of Sayyidina Hussain, if you compare? So why he willingly gave this life, not only his life, it's the close ones, just for he's telling in this one. So because فَمَنْ قَبِلَ عَنَّا الْحَقِّ مَا جِئْنَا بِهِ فَاللَّهُ لَا بِالْحَقِّ وَمَنْ رَدَّ عَلَيْنَا صَبَرْنَا حَتَّى يَكْمَلَ اللَّهُ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَ قَوْمِنَا بِالْحَقِّ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. So he gave his message that I came here for haqq. Anybody who is following me and he is strengthening me, he is actually he knows that I am haqq. So Allah is awla bil haqq. So his matter is with Allah. And who is going against us? So and we will reject the haqq, we will do sabr, and we will leave our decision in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can see now his mission is islah of the ummah, and we need to keep this in our mind. And we will, if we are claiming that we love Sayyidina Hussain, we love his Ahlul Bayt, we love the people who gave their life, so we need to keep this cause alive in our life. We have to get ready to sacrifice our life for the same way. We have to give this, we keep clear in our mind that this cause is not so cheap that we can just claim and that is enough. No, the claim is not enough. The practical sacrifice, this is from Sayyidina Ismail to Sayyidina Hussain is evidence for us that this demands everything of our life. So that's why he said, "Ama inni la ara al mauta illa sa'ada." So this is his last words over there. That I think this is my point of view, that the death is a sa'ada, is a pleasure, is a happiness. This is a blessing of Allah for me if I am giving my life for the sake of Islah, for the sake of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, for the revival of Islam. And another thing is the invention, another cause, the main cause, the bid'ah, which was presented by the rulers, that the Khilafah ala minhaj al-Nabuwa was changed to the Malukiyah, to the kingdom, which was not the purpose of Islam, which was not the purpose of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He hasn't give tarbiyah to his people like this. So how could we Islamic politics system will be same like the other kingdoms in that area, about the kingdom of Persia, like the kingdom of around them. So that's why one of another mission he has said, and we can see from his that people are not people are following that invention, and what I am doing that this is intention of the goodness and the struggle as a Muslim. That this is one of the share he has did that the meaning of this one is death is not a disgrace for a person when his intention is good and he struggle as a Muslim. So his struggle for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his last dua that Allah accept from this from me and make us from the shakirin, from the grateful people. So this is his last sermon to his Ahlul Bayt before he was going in the field of Karbala, that we are from the household of the Nabuwa, and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. He gave us the Nabuwa. He gave us the Quran and Sunnah. He gave us our eyes and ears and understanding of Quran and verses, and we thank him for this deen. So that's why we also as a followers of Sayyidina Hussain, as a follower of this ummah, we also bless the same things in this way. Like we have given the Quran, we have given these all senses, 5 senses, to learn about the Haqq, to know about the Haqq. If we are not using them for sake of Haqq, so this is useless. So this is like inum kalan'ami balamadal. So we're just ending with these points, that the purpose and the signpost which we are learning from this special event, or this is the Ayyamullah, is that Sayyidina Hussain and his dear companions gave their life for the implementation of Quran and Sunnah. So we have to keep this in our mind, and this is a role model for all the Muslims in the world, to implement Quran and Sunnah in our life, and revival of Islamic justice system, which was changed into the zulm and the cruelty in his time. So he stand for it and he gave his life for it. So right now we can see now all over the world where we are standing in Muslim countries and other than Muslim countries. We have 57, 58 or 60 Muslim countries where we are standing right now. Where is Islamic justice system in our own lands? So we are talking about other human beings. We are talking about all the world. So where we are standing. So we need to learn this from him, and then what he did, his struggle against invention, and what we have, the thousands of inventions are coming in our deen right now. So we have to stood and take the essence of his preaching, that invention is against the message of Prophet ﷺ. We have to follow him. And then one of the very important point we should learn from him, and this is actually a role model for all of us, especially for our young ones, that not to be terrified in the path of haqq from any kind of threat. It could be your life, or could be against your beloved ones, your wealth, your all the things that you have in your life could be lost in this day, because this is even the promise of Allah. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ. So this message and this ayah, Sayyidina Hussein and his companion proved, and they actually lived this life. The people are given one test and two tests or three tests, and he passed in one day. He passed all the tests in this ayah. He's given all the tests, which is the highest level of test. So, and that's the specialty of Sayyidina Muhammad compared to all other personalities in Islam. That's the difference between them. One of the scholars was listening is saying, all other people are tested with one or two things, but Hussein is tested with all kind of tests. This is what test given before him was to Sayyidina Ibrahim, and he has been tested here. So he proved, and we should know this one, and this is a big role model for us. And then remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all hardships and all disasters. And you know better than me what happened in the field of Karbala and how he was remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His last moment he was praying. So he was asking for the prayer, and what other his du'as and khutbah in the last moments is full of remembrance of Allah, zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is again for us and for all over the world is telling us now the reality of world is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the ultimate truth. We need to keep ourselves with him. And then put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all the difficult times, and be grateful to him in respond if he is responding you in passing your test without giving you any harm, or you pass your test after giving you everything. So because this is in Allah ashtara min al-mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum bi anna lahumul jannah. It is not yours. It is already Allah's, because you have given something. And he was the Sayyida Shabab Ahlul Jannah. He was already given the highest post in the Jannah. So how this is possible that he will not give the price? Everything has a price. So he has given the price, and he has proved this one. So you and me, when we are claiming that we are his followers, we are his lovers, so we should also prove this and get ready for this one. And inshallah, we will be ready. And the last with this Surah Baqarah ayah, I will finish. Allah is remembering us with this ayah, the incident when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam is commanded to leave the Egypt with his people and enter in the Holy Land. But people refused hadar al-maut because they feared their death, their life. So this fear of death is actually a death of a nation, death of a ummah. So this is what's happening with us right now. All over the world, we're scared of the powers, we're scared of our life, we're scared of our economy. So what happened? Everybody is killing us, everybody is persecuting us. Oppression is on all the Muslim lands, everywhere. So this is the time to stand with the uswa of Hussein radiallahu anhu, leave the fear of everything, and if you want to give life to this ummah. It's not talking about life of any countries, to this ummah. So that's what some poet in Urdu language said, Islam zinda hota hai har karbala ke baad. So Islam is getting life after every Karbala. So if you live with Karbala, so then you can give life to this ummah. So this is the message of Imam Hussein from that land. So I will just conclude with this one. Inshallah, we are ready for this one. and we will give our best effort because وَلَيْسَ الْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. So if we can do our best, so inshallah we will be on the path of Sayyidina Hussain Jazakumullah khair. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. So exchange.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Very enlightening speech to see two schools of thought and what their ideas about Imam Hussein. Of course, we know that Quran says clearly, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى, to love the Ahlul Bayt. And we have taken great interest in what you said, Sheikh Ahmed Idris. And now I would like to invite Sheikh Ladak to enlighten us with his beautiful words. With Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلي يا ربي على خيرتك من خلقك محمد وآله الطاهرين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن أريد إلا الإصلاح ما استطعت. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Awaited Savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, my respected teachers, scholars, guests, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How do we move the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam so that it's no longer just only on the pulpits, but running through the veins of the entirety of the Muslim Ummah? How do we ensure that the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam lives in the contemporaneous world? In my discussion, I wish to be able to reflect on just two simple points. And the idea of these 2 points is that at the individual and at the communal level, there are things that each one of us can do to be able to globalize the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, such that it doesn't just remain on the pulpits, but it also maximizes itself throughout the Muslim Ummah. Sheikh so beautifully quoted that famous tradition of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Sheikh called it his motto. إني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطلا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمتي جدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. I have not risen against the tyrant Yazid because I am doing something folly or fun. I'm not here playing games. I'm not a mischief maker. Nor am I someone who is oppressive, nor am I someone who is seeking fame. Rather, I am rising for one reason and one reason only. That is, Islah fi ummati jaddi. Reform in the ummah of my grandfather, Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. This question is going to be a tough question. And I need everyone to really reflect on it. And I ask this question not in terms of myself or you as an individual, not in terms of the Shi'i community. I ask this question in the context of the Ummah itself. Yes? The 10th of Muharram has gone once again. We are now 10 days past the Ashura. What reform has come about in the Ummah? Think about this. If I was to ask you, can I name you any country in the Muslim Ummah? If I pointed to you in Yemen, or if I pointed to you in Bahrain, or if I pointed to you in occupied Arabia, or if I pointed to you in Afghanistan, or if I pointed to you in Pakistan, or if I pointed to you in Kashmir, or if, every country that is available to us, in Palestine, in Syria, in Iraq, in Iran, I ask one question. Was there an ounce of reform in the Muslim Ummah? Yes or no? Answer that question within your hearts. As the Shaykh said in that phenomenal line of poetry, when Karbala is remembered, the Ummah is revived. So it shows here that the problem is not with Hussein, salamullahi alayhi. He gave his life and the reform immediately entered into the Muslim Ummah. Those who were in Damascus, who previously were celebrating and parading the granddaughters of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whipping them, trying to sell them off as slaves in the court of the so-called Caliph of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those inside the court for the first time spoke up and said, how dare you do this to Ikhwat al-Tahira? There was reform immediately within the Muslim Ummah, within hours. And in the years to come, all of you know the history. Abdullah ibn Zubayr launches a revolt against Banu Umayyah in Makkah al-Mukarramah whilst Yazid is alive. In Medina al-Munawwara, after Yazid's death, there is a revolution taking place. Several revolutions occurred immediately after to depose Yazid. There was the Tawabin movement, the Mukhtar al-Thaqafi movement. There was the movement of the martyr Zayd ibn Ali al-Zayn al-Abidin, salamullahi alayhima. Movement after movement after movement. And until today, the movement continues. I ask myself an honest question. Where is Hussein today in many of these lands that are so desperate to overthrow a tyrant, to establish a just government? If Hussein salamullahi alayhi was successful, it means that it was us who have yet to implement that success. You have lions in Palestine, lions. You have children who will throw stones at a tank. Imagine if they had Hussein salamullahi alayhi running through their blood as well. You understand? In Bahrain, you have children throwing Molotov cocktails at the tanks of Al Saud, rahmatullahi alayhim ajma'in, ready to overthrow them. You have the F-16s of the United States of America. In every base and in every Muslim land, there is the youth ready to overthrow that base. Instead of those being in the hands of an Afghani government, it is now in the hands of others. Think about this. Imagine if the Ummah grabbed hold of the Husseini spirit, what it could do for them. What it did for the Ummah at the time of Yazid, what it did in the decades immediately after Yazid, and imagine what it could do for the Ummah today. Imagine when a Shaykh tells you, this is a person who is on absolute haqq. This is a person who went above and beyond every challenge that was thrown in front of his face. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَالنَّقْصِ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. فَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Every test that he was given, he surpassed it and beyond. Think about it. If a reform was to take place in the Ummah, it could happen at the hands of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam until today, like it happened 1400 years ago. There is an impediment. There is something stopping the Ummah from being awoken to the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And Allah is my witness when I say this, that is purposeful. There are people who are working against Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his movement, and they want to be able to empower the opposite. They want to empower Yazid because they are the Yazids of today. These aren't my words. You can find this on YouTube 3 months ago. Very noble scholar, Sheikh Yasir Qadi, from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, he himself stated, in his opinion, that many of the movements that you see today that speak about whether Yazid had a right to bay'ah shar'iyyah, whether he had to be obeyed or not, to cast doubt in the right of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to wage war against Banu Umayyah, all of this is to cause confusion. All of this is done for one purpose, to make out that it is not possible, it is not permissible for you to overthrow a tyrant of your time. If Yazid was legitimate, then al-Saud are also legitimate. If Yazid was legitimate, then al-Khalifa in Bahrain are legitimate. If Yazid is legitimate, Daesh is also legitimate. What is the difference? So when they circulate the idea of the legitimacy of Yazid and the illegitimacy of the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, it is to one end and one end only. It's only to grant them cover for themselves. Understand this. Which means that the people like this Sheikh and those who understand Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam's movement need to be given that pedestal within the Muslim Ummah. It cannot be once a year that the Sheikh comes and visits and speaks. It cannot be only once he gets to speak about Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in the year. If Imam is going to run through the blood, those who understand the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, those who are seeking to use him as the means for achieving justice in this world, have to also be given the pedestal. Does that make sense? Because otherwise, the Muslim Ummah does not hear of this movement in the way in which it ought to be heard. And this is very important when it comes to what the responsibility of the Shia community is. And I'm going to humbly recommend 2 things. We have our honored guests as well, and they can reflect and debate and discuss these points together with us, inshallah. The first thing that I feel that the Ummah has to do in order to really take on the revolution of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is to ensure that they do not look at history through a secular lens. History, Islamic history, has to be looked through the lens of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the Quran, of divine law and justice. What do I mean by this? Often when the discussion comes around the event of Karbala, we imagine that the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was maybe between 2 warring tribes, between Banu Umayyah and Banu Hashim. They had a long-standing argument and difference of opinion amongst themselves. I have even heard scholars say, for example, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad ibn Marjana, the governor of Kufa, he was just a young man. He was, quote, a hothead. A hothead. So when he puts to death people like Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil, Hani ibn Urwa, when Muslim ibn Aqil's body is dragged through the streets of Kufa as a warning for no one to stand with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he was nothing more than a hothead. We have to excuse his behavior. Nonsense. This man is from Banu Umayyah, from Shajaratan Mal'una, the accursed tree that the Quran talks about. When Ibn Ziyad acts how he acts, this is explicitly to destroy Islam. Yazid ibn Muawiyah himself narrates it famously. Historians are in agreement, his poetry. When the head of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is in front of him, he says, no revelation came. Muhammad played with the kingdom of Arabia. This is outright kufr. No revelation came, but you're the caliph and we aren't able to overthrow you? Nonsense. The Muslim Ummah has to shift its lens away from a secular revisionist history to understand that there was a history of the movement of Islam, and what collided with it was a movement to overthrow Islam altogether. I want to read to you one hadith. This hadith is not well known even amongst the Shia. I don't think it has been narrated often enough, and I would like this opportunity to popularize it with you, inshallah. But I want you to understand the relationship between the movement of Karbala and the divine itself. This event is not seen through secular lenses. It is tawatur in ahadith and in history that the skies wept blood after the death of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. That stones turned to blood. Even in England it happened. You've all seen the history of that? It is even in the books of history in England, in London, that stones turned to blood red underneath it on the 10th of Muharram. Is this an ordinary event? Is this something to be seen as a clash of two Arabian tribes hostile with each other? Nonsense. Listen to this hadith. This is from Kamil al-Ziyarah, which is by one of our great scholars, Ibn Holloway, who died in the year 367 after Hijrah. So an early muhaddith, gatherer of ahadith. This hadith comes to us from our fourth Imam, Zainul Abidin, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. I'll cut the hadith short. It's a very lengthy hadith. I'll cut it short for the point I want to make. One of the companions would go on ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. We'll come back to this point in a second. This will be my second point that I'm going to make about how the Ummah can unite around Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. One of the companions went on ziyarah. The Imam said to him, don't you worry about the government, Banu Umayyah, that they will stop you from going on ziyarah? And he says, I'm not worried about these people, whatever they want to do. Now, the Imam responds by saying, be joyous. Be even more joyous. And then be even more joyous that you go on ziyarah. For I shall narrate to you a narration which is the most noble of narrations that have been kept safe with me. Who is saying this? Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, son of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. I am going to narrate to you a hadith which is the most noble of hadith which has been kept safe with me. He says, after the atrocities of Taf, as you know is Karbala, after the atrocities in Taf, which ended with the martyrdom of my father, alayhi salam, and the martyrdom of his children, the martyrdom of his family members, his women and children remained alive and they were taken captive and were forced to ride on camels without any saddles, taken to Kufa. As we were about to leave Karbala, I began to look over the unburied bodies of the shuhada of Karbala. It was extremely difficult for me to see them in this state. I became so overwhelmed and felt as if my ruh was about to leave my body at this moment. Imam Ma'soom, salamullahi alayhi, saying, my body was my ruh was about to leave my body, I felt. I was about to die. Right? In the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allah says in Surah Al-Kahf about him, you will almost die of grief because of how much you want them to believe He says, I was in such a state. At that moment, my auntie Zainab al-Kubra, daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, says, in that moment, my auntie Zainab al-Kubra came to me, looked upon me in a state of anguish and said, "Oh my dear son, why do I see you so disturbed by the slight of death?" Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam responds by saying, how can I not be distressed after seeing the martyrdom of my master, my brothers, my uncles, my cousins, and the rest of my family, especially when their bodies are strewn about, covered with blood and dust, looted and left unshrouded. There is none who looks upon them or goes near them, as if they were left out to be like from the family of Daylab and Khazar, meaning that no one looks upon the Ahl al-Bayt now except as if they are strangers. They're not even an honored tribe. This is how people have left. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam responded. Listen to this response. Is this an ordinary event? Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam responds, do not allow that which you have witnessed to cause you such distress. I swear by Allah that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi confided in your grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib, your father Hussein, your uncle Hassan, that Allah has taken an oath from a certain group amongst this ummah, whose presence is unknown to the tyrants of this ummah, but whose identity is so well known in the heavens. This group will collect these destroyed bodies and bury them. Then they will designate a marker here at the grave of your father in Karbala, Sayyid al-Shuhada. Regardless of how much time passes, the signs of this marker shall never vanish, nor the remnants of this event ever be vanquished, ever be erased. Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam asks, what is this oath that you speak of, that Allah has taken with a certain group of people? Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam responds by saying, Ayman, salamullahi alayha, narrated to me that one day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi went to the house of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam had prepared some meal for him, for Ali ibn Abi Talib, and brought a dish filled with dates. Ayman, salamullahi alayha, went with 2 goblets for them, one filled with milk, another with butter. And then Rasulullah began to explain what would happen within Karbala. Jibreel Amin descended to tell them about the events that was going to occur, and eventually he said to him, O Muhammad, this is Jibreel Amin saying, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, everything that was created by Allah will seek His permission to help those of your family against their enemies. They will seek the permission of Allah to take revenge for your family, those who are hujjatullahi fil ard, the proofs of Allah on earth upon the creations of the heavens and the earth. There will be none from the creation that will not seek the permission of Allah to come to the support of your oppressed family. Think about this. Is this an ordinary event? Is this 2 tribes fighting out? Is this nationalism fighting out between people who dislike each other because of surnames or national borders? Or is this an event that is being described in the heavens itself? We have to ensure that we don't reduce this message in such a way that the Shia, when they spread it, reduces the message, that it becomes an antagonist message for our brothers, or a message that is clouded by culture and not understood in the context of Islam itself. And I'm speaking to my Shia brethren here first and foremost because this is my blessed community. I have seen my young brothers, you know, they go to school, they go to university, you know what I've seen them do? They say, I see tweets from Shia community. Today I'm wearing the biggest aqiq ring possible so I can annoy my Sunni brother. What are you talking about? Don't reduce the madhab of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam to your pettiness. This is an event that occurred. It was taken an oath by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one. Number two, my second humble advice to be able to share this event with the Ummah is to bring the Muslim Ummah on ziyarah of Hussein ibn Ali salamullahi alayhi. Ziyarah has, for many of us, become a Shia event. That Shia go during the Arba'iniyah, Shia go on Ashura, Shia go during their summer holidays, winter holidays. No. We now need to make the ziyarah of Hussein ibn Ali salamullahi alayhima a universal action where all feel comfortable and welcomed to be able to participate. That there is no idea of this being Shia or Sunni. The worst thing that has happened in occupied Mecca and occupied Medina is that the Imam of Jama'ah is only from one sect, which means all others are excluded. True or not? Are you able to lead Salah inside Mecca? No. But in the same way, Karbala and Najaf is not only for Shia. It can no longer be that only Shia really are there, leading the Salah, leading the pilgrimages. Everyone has the right to be able to visit Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Everyone. Now you all know better than me. Who is the first Za'ir ever? First ever Za'ir, visitor of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? Who? Jabir who? Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. Every Muslim loves Jabir, would kiss his hands. Jabir participated in 17 or maybe 18 battles with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From amongst those who were the first to welcome the Prophet, the pledges of Aqaba, him and his father. Yes? This is not a Shia thing, this is not a Sunni thing, this is not a Brelvi thing, this is not a Sufi thing. Jabir, a companion of the Prophet, saw it fit to go and visit the grave of Hussein ibn Ali. None can say that to visit the grave of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is a bid'ah or something other than this. All of our Muslim Ummah needs to visit Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, to revive, to be revived within themselves. And that means, my brothers and sisters, you are sitting here. The next time you plan on going on ziyarah, invite your Sunni friend. Invite your Christian friend. You know, in the history of Christianity, the first 300 years, the entirety of their Christianity is rooted in martyrdom. You know that? You know why? Because it was the Roman Empire that was destroying everybody until eventually the Council of Nicaea occurred, right? And then they merged polytheism, paganism with Christianity, right? The whole of Christianity is rooted for 3 centuries on martyrdom. Show them the master of the martyrs. When someone comes to the grave of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, they will be rejuvenated spiritually. They will become purified spiritually, morally uplifted, revolutionary in their thinking, ready, as the Sheikh said, to give everything in the way of the movement of the Holy Prophet, in the way of Imam al-Hussein salamullahi alayhi. My humble advice to you is these 2 things. When we speak about Karbala, do not allow it to become reduced to what it is not. Understand where it is with Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. Spread that. And number 2, don't keep Hussein salamullahi alayhi for you. I don't mean that here and in your ma'tam, in your poetry. I mean in Karbala itself. Take a friend to Karbala, let them experience Hussein for themselves, and the entirety of the Ummah, inshaAllah, shall be awoken to this movement. This is my humble recommendations to you as to how we can rejuvenate the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam universally. And I think, inshaAllah, Salat al-Maghrib is upon us. If we can break here, if you feel that there is questions for Shaykh, opportunities to think together about these matters, then for 15 minutes with a chai after Salat al-Maghrib, we can make sure that we ask some questions together, inshallah, take benefit from the Shaykh's wisdom and his experience. Walhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi al-Tahirin. For us, Salat al-Maghrib is in 1 minute, so for those who wish to be able to refresh their wudu, they can, and then inshallah, maybe if you can recite the adhan for us. I think it's there. The wireless one is there. It's on the shelf. Let's keep the live stream going. And then Q&A, inshallah, 15 minutes after Maghrib, inshallah.
We'll cut it off.
You have to restart it, right? You need to know the name.
Oh, so
Just leave it running. Oh, send it on.
سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله سلام الله عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه من كل ذنب إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله تعالى قوته أكون وأفعل بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته ورفع درجته وقتلا في سبيلك فوفق لنا بحول الله تعالى قوته وأفعاله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه من كل ذنب الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه يا ربي ارحم عبدك الضعيف بجاه سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين الله أكبر بسم الله وبالله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك صلوات
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله سلام الله عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله تعالى قوته وأفعال. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم الم به شعثنا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته ورفع درجته وقتلا في سبيلك فوفقنا بحول الله تعالى قوته وأفعاله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله تعالى قوته أكون وأكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه من كل ذنب. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. اللهم ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارة الحسين وفي الآخرة شفاعة الحسين واحشرنا يوم القيامة مع الحسين عليه السلام. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله وخير الأسماء كلها لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي فأجول في طلبه البلدان فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران. لا أدري في سهل هو أم في جبل أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من. وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله واجعل يا رب رزقك لي واسعا ومطلبه سهلا ومأخذه قريبا ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. فصل على محمد وآله وجد على عبدك بفضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن حسن عجل الله فرجه وسهل الله مخرجا وظهورا. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. Brothers, please take a seat. Sisters, if you will kindly come back to the prayer hall so we can have a question and answer session, if that's possible. Brothers, now obviously there's a question and answer session, and I would like to see if there's any questions that have been asked, and I will please Sheikh Ladak and Sheikh Idris, if you come to the chair, and I'll move out of the way. Please. Please, any questions to start off? Please go ahead. Do you want the mic? Or?
So I think the question for both of you, practically, I've visited both Iraq, for example, and I visited Saudi Arabia, for example, and as you rightly point out, when you go to Iraq, when you go to the pilgrimages for Ziyarah, you hardly see Sunni brothers. When you go to Saudi Arabia, the Shia brothers are very much on their own. On a practical basis, how would you improve that situation where the people feel comfortable in their religion?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There are two things we need to explain the concept of ziyarah, because one is the religious ziyarah. So according to Sunni point of view, the religious ziyarah is only for Haramain or maybe the Baab-Ul-Ilm actually. So yes, the ziyarah for the going to sacred places in Iraq and others. So this is allowed. You can go, and people used to go this before this things happened in Iraq. Now there no peace. I think this is the main reason people are not going. Otherwise, before that, what I remember, people used to go even from UK, the UK Islamic Mission, which we are belonging with them. So UK Islamic Mission always sending their imams and the scholars to go to Iran and Iraq. Sometime like a long time ago, there 2-3 time brothers went over there and spent a few weeks in both countries, in Iran and Iraq both. So the practical thing that there are many political reasons, this is the main reason is now how the world politics is going in Saudis. Things are going worse day every day. They are now very open with the US policy, now with the Muslim world policy. And the same thing, I would say, like in Iraq, after this, after Saddam regime, although they have big trouble, he is also a kind of dictator, but still there was a peace over there. So after him, people are not comfortable with this thing. So I don't think there's any religious reason behind. Still, I know the brothers from different Sunni sects, they are going for the ziyarah in Iraq especially. The only thing is the peace. Peace is the main reason people are not able to go there. The other things are, yes, if religious the people who have a hold in Iraq, like the Shia brothers, if they invite people and if they organize something like this happened before, so maybe the people will go initially, and some people will go and they will come back with some good experience, and then other people will go. Otherwise, there is no big issue with this one because of this Shia or Sunni, because the Shias are going in Saudis, although they are not leaving anybody freely, but still, because these are Haramain, nobody can stop you. So, but Iraq, especially, there are many places, because this is a historic place for Islam. So after Haramain, Sayyidina Ali, when he moved his center to the Kufa, from that time, its importance is there. So, yeah, if there is a peace, people will go definitely. There is a peace issue, I think, mainly, from my side.
I concur with what the Sheikh has said. Prior to the era that we're living in now, it was regular for Shia and Sunnah to go to many of these ziyarat, to these maqamat, and even in other places as well. That the last century or early 20th century, there were other places that the Shia used to go to in great numbers and has declined now for the same reason, because of lack of peace. For example, the mountain where Musa alayhi salam received Torah, and according to some, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spent several months living there in the monastery of Saint Catherine. And this was a pilgrimage site for Shia as well. And tens of thousands used to go every year, but then now it's become difficult due to the circumstances in Egypt, less safety, and the Shia in this century have stopped going more or less altogether. So I concur with what the Sheikh has said. My humble solution or advice would be as follows. When it comes to Hajj and Umrah, these are requiring a great deal of fiqhi requirements, right? So it requires groups to kind of work within the ahkam that they follow. Ziyarah does not have that. Doesn't have those fiqhi requirements per se, right? Which means that our groups from now on, I believe, should no longer be just a Shia alim reciter, so on. Actually, every group must have a Sunni representative as an imam for that group. And if the community is able to come, it becomes a joint endeavor. So that we remove these boundaries, we remove the misconceptions that we have of each other, and we have an opportunity to learn from one another. So we have a group that we go with called the 10thday.com, based in Manchester. We've been going every year for the last 5 years. And obviously last year the pandemic, so we couldn't, but the year before that, for the Arba'iniyah, I think the Sheikh will know Sheikh Adam Aslam. of Leeds, and we invited him, and he came with us and experienced the Arba'een for himself, and we also joined him in some of the ziyarat that he wanted to do of awliya and Imma of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in Iraq as well. So it was an exchange. I believe the ziyarah that we are doing needs to evolve. When I say evolve, I mean in this way. The organization of the groups needs to evolve, and I believe it needs to be where groups are going together so that we can actually benefit from one another. That would be my practical solution. Then, once we become a force together, the boundaries that are in front of us and the oppressions that are in front of us will be harder for them to do against us. You understand what I mean by that? When we go on Hajj, when we go on Ziyarah, Allah is my witness. I've been performing Salah in, Masjid Nabawi. You have the Sahan outside where the marbles are, right? And then you've got the actual walls of the Haram Sharif itself. If you enter in, you've got those guards who sit and everything. I was praying my back against the wall of the mosque itself, and one of the guards came and kicked my turba away from me whilst I was in a report. When you are on your own, it's much more difficult. When we work together as required, then we are unstoppable. I don't know if there are other sisters who want to come back in. Sister, if you have a question or anything, the sister's side.
What we can do locally.
I think particularly to Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Islam has a guideline for everything. If we are we are encouraged in Quran to even call the Christians and others to sit together. تعالوا إلى كلمة بيننا سواء بيننا وبينكم. So we have almost everything same. So why we cannot sit together? And there are boundaries as well. The differences are there. Nobody can say that there is no difference. There are differences. But Alhamdulillah, 90% things are the same. There are some differences of the history on the both sides. There are some questions already there. So scholars have different views. And Alhamdulillah, this is a good place, I think, like we are sitting in West. So everybody knows there now why the differences are there and what these differences are serving for. It's serving for Ummah, serving for others. So when we are here, so they are imams, most of them, they know that these issues are not for the sake of benefit of Ummah, going against it. Alhamdulillah, small things like we can start in this Muharram time, Rabiul Awwal time, especially these two occasions are the best to start with. If we do some common programs, not only in the masajid, do some seminars, conferences outside in hotels and others, to make some people are not open so much that they can come, or even some Shias are not able to if you not feel it comforted, sit on the member of Sunni Masjid, maybe the other issues are coming. So the best thing is, I think we can do some seminars on these topics, like say the Shuhada conference, or we can do on Rabiul Awwal time on the Sira program. This is very common all over the world. Like when Iran, they are doing these things, they are calling especially on Sira conferences. And people are coming from all over the world, from even those who are the very strong opponents, they are also coming. So we have to start from somewhere, and then later on people will know the ittihad and the unity of Ummah and the revival of Ummah is in this thing that we sit together and with themselves. That's how we can start. And if we start from somewhere, and hopefully solution will come. The things are we're not sitting from now hundreds of years together. So this is not small thing. When I was there, Masjid and Sheikh came to visit me. So this is how we break the ice. We start from somewhere. So when he came to me, so I'm here.
So that's happening. We have to start from somewhere.
It's
Local.
mashallah, it's a big step for you to
Yeah.
to come here. Alhamdulillah, it's a great honor to have you here. So what kind of teachings do your community, do you tell them about it? What do they see the Shia community as? Do they see, what's their viewpoint? What's their views about the Shia?
You know, there are some things from hundreds of years, some misconceptions are there from both sides. So when we will not sit together, misconceptions will stay there. That's the main thing. So when we live together, especially many so extreme groups, they are promoting these things. So when we keep the hardliners on side and we come and able to, if in other ways, scholars should discuss things like even and in the fiqh issues or maybe the aqaid issues, some are there. So we can discuss this in the scholar level, not from the common people. The main thing is if the scholars understood the importance of sitting together and importance for the ummah when they are bombarding on Afghanistan or Iraq or Yemen, they are not looking who is Shia or Sunni. They are killing the Muslims. So when they are plotting against Islam, so this is for everyone. So if we understand this thing, so I think we will realize that there are differences, but they are very minor. We have to, like the Sheikh also told about the Sayyidina Hussein's mission is the Islah al-Ummah. So for revival of Ummah, and especially this particular time, we have to educate our community for this, and we have to start from somewhere. And Alhamdulillah, it's going there, especially we have like in Islamic mission, they have around 50 centers in UK. So we have this this mission already that we, from not now, it's long time, our brothers are going to the program, going to Iran, going to seminars and others, and inviting them as well. So, alhamdulillah. The others are also ready. We need to open little bit. People are not opening. That's the main thing.
Just maybe a statement and a question as well at the same time. Do you agree that in the Sunni community, in the past, especially 70 years since Al Saud came into power through British after the collapse of Ottoman Empire, 1932, when Abdulaziz claimed to be king of Hijaz and then named the country after his forefather, Saudi Arabia. After that, they brought in their version of Islam under the guise of Sunnism, which wasn't Sunnism, because the mainstream Sunnism Ottoman Empire was the claimant of. There was from the school of Abdul Wahhab, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, who took this philosophy from Ibn Taymiyyah. My question is, would you agree that they've infiltrated, especially in the 70 years, 80 years, and especially after the revolution, to poison the Sunni community against the Shias with slogans such as Shia the Kafir, for example. Your Nama ne wo bhi kafir. It's just such an expression in Pakistan and India. They've infiltrated other areas. Would you agree that this has this group, this dangerous group, and the mainstream Sunnism has, as you said wisely, there's not much differences. 90% of the stuff is the same. So what do you think? Do you think they've actually made it worse for our unity?
This is
As
a
they
very
claim-
deep political question. Yes, in regard with the power, anybody who's coming in power, they have their own some agenda everywhere. So this happened with them as well. As you know, they are regarding with their religious thoughts. So Al Saud themselves, they are not Shia, even not Sunni. They have their own agenda to stay in power.
what I think. And the Wahhabi system, which is over there, I think they are their partners, not them, but they are using each other. They are using each other for sake of power, or maybe to enjoy these things. So, but there are good aspects in Wahhabism as well. People came from there. Spoke about, the famous Mufti Ishaq Sahib from Pakistan. And he was a very big Salafi scholar. But when he came out and he preached his views according to the so so he came to even Shia Majalis. He used to do his own Majalis as well. So the things are, the power are always abused, and they are also abusing for that reason. But this is again very small community, not very big. Even in the Salafis, there are different people. Some people who are getting their money from Saudi, they are doing this, but not all of them. There are some good people over there. But thing is, overall, there are some things, overall differences there. And especially after Inqilab era, there are reaction from this side as well. They have also done something which I think is giving some power to the extremism in Shia community as well. So in Shia, because I know from my background, from my city, we have a sheikh who is Shia imam over there. So he was very kind and very like the person who is always talking about unity. But things are now changed, not like the beginning when we were young, and we used to sit with him in his own Majalis at his home as well. So, but from both sides, reaction is coming, because if you have action, the reaction will come. So this happened from both sides, but now people from both sides have understood. And I think this, especially in Pakistan background, there are physical fighting and killings from both sides. Thousands of people have been killed. These are not although from like the last 20, 25 years. And now the same people are becoming, with the time, they understood that this is wrong. Because what we are doing is not serving for Islam. This is for serving for some other, those who have their own agendas. But again, this is very deep political question. There are politics in the world, and there are politics in Islamic world as well. And inside the sects, there are different kind of people. In Sunni sects, there are hundreds of different sects inside them. So, but generally in scholarly terms, Wahhabis are seen as different from Sunnis.
yeah, they have big differences. And
Like the scholars say they are Sunnis, but they're not. It's like saying we have a doctor here. It's like saying if you have a flu. I would say I've got a flu. He would say no, that's not flu. That is COVID. That's it. So they can say they are Sunnis, but they are not. They are Wahhabis.
you yourself mentioned that they are following Ibn Taymiyyah, and they have their dispute, because Ibn Taymiyyah was a Sunni scholar, although he's a hardliner. He was a hardliner. People have views against him in Sunni as well, but because they have like Abdul Wahhab has something his own, got his own, and some is following Ibn Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah. So others, but yeah, these are. I told you, if you acknowledge the differences, they are there from 1400 years. We can't finish in one day sitting here or anywhere. Differences, religious differences, and many political differences are there from 1400 years. But people back like 100 years back, they were tolerant. They have a tolerance, and now we have no tolerance because of this modern thing happen in Saudi, and after that in other areas also there are people.
differences. It's not only Wahhabism, there are many other reasons as well. Because this, like you said, this extremism inside Sunnism is other than Wahhabism in Pakistan, but they are talking much about Shia. So they are like another sect. So yes, we can't ignore them, but the thing is, if we sit together, because when we are looking right now, Sunni Shia scholars sitting on the TV, and sometimes they are doing very good program together and ending with very good conclusion, and sometimes some others, and they're sitting and they just fight each other, ending with the worst conclusion. So this is up to the scholars how they want to sit together, and in the unity, name of unity, sometimes they are spreading differences, not the unity. So, but Quran is telling us a point. If we come on the kalima, the same kalima, like we talk on Sayyidina Hussain, this is a time of unity, and Hussain is the best point for everyone, for all the Sunnis. Very little community which you can call Nasbis, you can keep them on side. All other Sunnis, alhamdulillah, although they are from maybe the Sufis, the non-Sufis, all will come together, inshallah. And this oppression will together, and oppression and ummah. Oppression and ummah is all over the world. They are not looking Shia and Sunnis. So, inshallah, if we sit together, so this is not the thing we can finish in one day or 100 years. It's not, because it's from 1400 years. We have to accept the differences and then sit together. Then we are able to go further. Otherwise, if we say, okay, you admit this one, so I will say, okay, you admit this one, and there will be differences. So that is a separate discussion. That for high-level scholars, or for me, my level, there is a level for the highest scholarship that they will go and they discuss the differences, and they should do it, and they are doing it from thousands of years. There are Hawzat everywhere, Baab-Ul-Ilm.
Yes. Is there anything else? I want to just finish by answering the brother's question, if you don't mind, my own view. You asked what can we do in the East specifically. My humble opinion is that Arba'een coming, Muharram coming, we should have our Ashra together between Shia and Sunni. For example, the Sheikh should come from the Sunni community and give us our 10 nights Ashra, like we do. We will also have the pulpit. And then the Shia will also have the pulpit. The two communities come and commemorate Imam Hussain together. Both of them have half hour, and then the Maqtal is recited, for example. This is the only way that we will hear from each other authentically. This is the only way we will sit together and mourn Imam Hussain authentically. If you said to me, Jaffer, you have an hour, or you can have half an hour, and the Sheikh comes and he has half an hour each night. Allah is my witness, I will give up my half an hour. On the proviso that the communities come together, that we see here our Sunni brethren, 10, 15, 100, 1,000, whatever comes, and we do our of Imam Hussain together. That's where I think we need to go next. It will be a very scary idea. I know many people will not like it, but that's where I think we should go. And as the Sheikh said, with Mufti Ishaq, we used to do this already. This is not novel. You know, prior to the this one? Okay, this one. Prior to the British invasion in India, Sunni and Shia used to recite their 10-night Majalis together. It was only when they came in and put a census form. You know, today we have a census form. It's only when they put a census form and made you fill out whether you're Shia or Sunni and what type of Sunni and what type of Shia. And then they started to spread the idea that, why are you listening to this man talk about your caliphs? And why are you listening to this man talk about your imams, and then they split, and then eventually some groups altogether stopped doing the ashra of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and this is where we have reached today. I think we need to go back. This would be my suggestion. Thank you so much, Sheikh, for your time, your wisdom, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your success, for the success of the whole community at Lingfield Mosque, and inshallah especially for the success of the ummah and all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat around the world. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the hastening of the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala faraj al-sharif. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are always kept on the path of haqq, and that we die in the love of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.